Good morning and welcome to our London Senior Schools Options webinar hosted by the Independent Schools Show with myself, Will Petty. I'm a co-director at the Independent Schools Show and its sister company, Bonus McFarlane. At the Independent Schools Show, we'd usually be hosting large exhibitions of independent schools to hordes of visitors from around the country, and indeed we'd be taking them around the world. Obviously, we haven't been doing that for rather a long time now. But today is a good day. Today is a new day and schools are going back. So I'm sure lots of you parents will be very excited about finally returning your children to school. And let's be fair, getting them out the house. So this is our way of bringing you some schools into your living room, into your homes, whilst we wait until the events industry is finally brought back to the table. I think we're last in the queue when it comes to COVID. But we've got 4 fabulously exciting schools from London for children from age 11 to 18 for you to have a brief look into today with their heads. We've got Northbridge House Senior, Eaton Square School Mayfair, Southbank International in Westminster, and then finally Fine Arts College Hampstead. After that, we're going to have a Q&A panel, so please stick around for that. Use the Q&A box on Zoom, which should be at the bottom of your screen in the menu bar next to raise your hand and more. At least it is on my screen. Apologies if you've got a different version, but please join us for that. Please keep your questions in that box. Anyone who submitted questions prior to the live event today, we will be looking to those as well. We'll try and get through as many as we can. Just a brief note now as well, the next of these in the series is on Tuesday, the 2nd of March, 10:30 in the morning again. And that is choosing a school for your SEN child, so specific educational needs. So that's Tuesday, the 2nd of March at 10:30. I love these webinars personally because in my main role at Bonus McFarlane, I spend a lot of time placing children into schools. These are 4 highly recommendable schools indeed. We're very lucky to have them here, and hopefully it will get us all excited about schools reopening, seeing a little glimpse of their leaders. So we will crack on, just checking my timings. We'll crack on and we'll go live to Northbridge House Senior School in Canterbury, North London, where we're joined by the head teacher, Brendan Pavey, and that's it, just says there, executive head teacher. So Brendan, over to you. Good morning.
Good morning, William, and thank you very much. I share your excitement hugely about the opening of schools. It's making for quite a busy life. It has been over the last few months, to be honest, but digesting the guidance from the government and trying to work out how we're going to test everybody coming back into school. But we're excited that we'll be able to do that. So thank you very much for having me this morning. I'm speaking to you from my home, but I'm actually executive head teacher of the 2 Northbridge House senior schools, where we've got about a dozen children of key worker and vulnerable children at this moment in time. So we're very excited to get everybody back in just a couple of weeks now. So my job was given just a few moments to talk about Northbridge House senior schools and what makes them very special places for children to come to. I always start my open day speeches by letting parents know that Northbridge House is a very, very special school, but I'm also conscious there's a lot of very special schools in London, and that I'm not here necessarily to tell you that this is definitely the right school for your child. I've got 4 of my own children. They were at one point in 3 different schools because we were doing everything we could to try and make sure we chose the right school for each one of them, rather than to shoehorn them into what we had prejudged as to be the right school. And so what I can do is spend just a few moments telling you about what makes Northbridge House special. And I'm happy to take any of the questions that come through in the Q&A. For us, we pride ourselves on being co-educational, mixed ability London school, day school. We're busy during the day. We rest well at weekends and holidays. But whilst your children are with us, we're really looking, as you'd expect us to do, to work in 3 main areas, one of which you'd expect us to work on, which is the academic excellence. And we sort of put that to one side and say, that will be brilliant. We will get some wonderful results from your children. And what makes us a little bit different is that we don't put a huge barrier on academic ability. We don't necessarily believe that children aged 10, it's not necessarily the right time to sort of predict whether someone is going to be a brilliant academic student or otherwise. So we do test on entry, but that's really for a baseline for us. We put far more stock in the reference and the interview that they do with us. And so the children come in as mixed ability children. They might arrive with us as an 11-year-old who's previously found some academics difficult. They might have been flying through primary school, but either way, we will help them to achieve their true academic potential. And our results on our website are really outstanding for a mixed ability school. To be getting 68% 7+ is a real fantastic achievement, and our top students are getting straight 9s. So we can do the whole true mixed ability piece from an academic point of view. We then really drill into character, and we look to develop character through our academic curriculum, as well as the 50 or more trips that we ordinarily do in a standard year. And then we've got very much a drive to talk to the children, to really get into their minds a global mindset, because they work in or they come to school rather in a global city. They're going to go into a global landscape, and as part of the Cognitor organization, we have over 80 schools globally that we can tap into. I know the head teachers in the other schools, we can set up links with them. We've got links already with Chile. One of my cancelled trips was out to Chile, which is a bit of a shame. That was going to be good, but we've already been hosting children from Chile. We've had links with schools, our schools in Spain and Singapore, and so we're really developing a global mindset for the children within our schools. But above all, whilst we're doing the character, whilst we're doing the academic, whilst we're focusing on their global mindset, I want children to enjoy coming to school. If you've seen me speak in an open day before, or my video, I talk about happy children, and happy children will learn best. So we put a huge amount into our systems around keeping children happy whilst they're at school. They're teenagers, they will get it wrong, they won't be happy every day. But we will do everything we can to help them be happy, so that when they come to school, they're in a great place for learning. And we've not got huge behaviour policies in place to make sure the children workplace. We're not doing stress. We're doing support, high support, low stress. And that will, for us, help the children to achieve more than they believe possible. One of my favourite stories to talk about is a person who was an Australian student. She was in London for her GCSE years, went back to Australia, called in to get her results, got her results on the telephone, and then had to call back a few moments later. With the mum called back and said, "Can you please confirm these results? Because they're so much better than we thought they were going to be. They are so good. We can't believe that they are her results." And so that was an example of children believing more than they believe possible. But whatever their academic ability, whatever it is, we really are pushing to try and help them find that true north. It's within what we're trying to do as Northbridge House, finding what is success to each individual child, and really looking at every individual and trying to help them find that is what we do on a daily basis. High support, low stress, mixed ability, co-education, that's what we really work on each day. From a point of view of there was a couple of notes to talk about, which were how the registration and so on. Our admissions team will be able to take registrations. We're now we're almost at the end of this year's cycle, and it's been great to see a good number of children applying for our schools, and we will have a full and thriving school as we go into next year. The application process starts again in September. We are excited about the possibility of open days from September, but in the meantime, they're going to be online. But individual tours of the school can hopefully be arranged between now and then. As I say, all the details, the dates and everything, probably best to go for our website rather than for me to talk in detail. Every student who comes to us will have an assessment, will have an interview, and we'll get a reference from their previous schools. So good ideas to have very good relationships with your prep schools and your primary schools, because we will be looking at that reference very carefully. Facilities wise, we've got 2 buildings. The senior school in Hampstead is an 11-16 building with over 400 children there, a huge variety of academic facility, and a sports hall on site, which is great for a central London school. And we use Regent's Park and Hampstead Heath Extension for all our outdoor activities and all our sports, of which there are many. Our Canterbury campus is in a beautiful old building where we've got 11 to 18 as our age group and 230 children on that particular campus. And again, they being slightly more central, there's less facility on site, but we don't let that stop us. We have 18 different sporting or extracurricular activities, or sporting activities rather, that the children do within their curriculum throughout Key Stage 3, because we use a Sobel Centre, we use Lee Valley, they will go kayaking, they will go rock climbing, they'll do all sorts of different things. And so we make sure we use London as our playground so that children get a full, varied education when they're with us, whichever school that they go to. Both schools have exactly the same values, exactly the same things I've talked about already are relevant to both schools. I'm very, very proud of the staff that I've got in both schools. They work tirelessly to make sure they achieve that vision of helping children to achieve more than they believe possible. Thank you very much. That's probably my time up.
Amazing, Brendan. Thank you so much. You're amazingly efficient with your time there and nearly caught me off guard. Wonderful to hear from you, and indeed pleased to see a head who's equally excited about schools reopening, as I'm sure all his students are. So now we're going to go over to Eaton Square School, Mayfair, where we're joined by Principal Sebastian Hepher. Sebastian and I last did battle on a webinar at the beginning of lockdown 1, I think, and then it was all talk about how we keep everybody clean. Now we can talk about how we get everybody back up and running in learning. So Sebastian, great to see you again, and looking forward to ending lockdown and seeing you in person. But for now, over to you.
Thanks very much, Will. Lovely to see you, and thank you all for joining us this morning. I'm going to talk to you about Eaton Square Senior School this morning, although we do have obviously 4 nurseries and a prep school who feed into the senior school, but we very much welcome new pupils in at 11 plus or 13 plus. And I thought we'd start with a short film about the school to give you a kind of visual flavour, as you can't get in to see us at the moment. So hopefully my trusty assistant will be showing you a short film right now. Excellent. Well, I hope that gave you a little flavour of what we're about. Now, you're now looking at an infographic about our 5 core values of the school, which underpin all that we are really within the senior school and indeed through the nurseries and prep as well. And they guide how we function each day and how the staff operate and how the pupils actively engage in their learning too. And they cover all the different areas of school life and encompass everything that we do. And you'll see that our values all stem from the word poise. Now, we expect all the children within the school to persevere in all that they do through hard work, trying their best and always endeavouring to reach their goals. And we know they will succeed and often exceed their expectations, and seeing the fruits of their labours in their final achievements and results as they come through. And then the transition from primary and prep school to year 7 or later for those joining in year 9 can often bring a period of adjustment, of course, which is quite normal. And we support the children through this very closely. We spend time working with them to allow them to have real ownership of what they're doing. And that's our second core values, so that they know that they have responsibilities and they have an understanding of the fact that they need to be in charge of what they're doing with guidance and support clearly, and that they develop this sense of ownership over their actions and through their work. Now, integrity, of course, describes the qualities of being honest and having strong moral principles. And as a school, we expect the children to have these principles, but we also recognize that we're here to teach and guide them to realize these. And by the time the pupils leave us, they should not only have great integrity, but they should also understand the value of integrity, both in their own lives and how they can influence others with that too. And service is really important to us. And throughout their time with us, the pupils will come to understand the importance of service, of giving their time and energy to help others when they can, so that they can become richer in spirit themselves, and they can help others and hopefully leave a positive, long-lasting legacy from their actions. And this can be on a small scale within their peer group setting, or through their houses or their tutor groups, or indeed further afield and internationally, of course, as we see with our World Schools associations. And empathy is really important to us. And I'm sure you would agree that many of the problems we've faced in our lives would have been less stark, perhaps, had there been more empathy between those involved. And we're very keen that our boys and girls develop a sense of empathy, both in the smaller, more intimate community of the school, but also in the wider community through their actions and interactions with others. So they're the 5 values of the school, which, as stated, they underpin all that we are and all that we do, both as a staff body and, of course, as a school. Now, for those of you who are unaware of where we are, let's briefly show you a map of our location and how this plays into much of what we do and what we're about. The first thing you'll notice is how accessible we are, underground or overground or bus and walks across the parks. There are no barriers to getting to us smoothly. We're based in fabulous Grade 1 listed buildings on Piccadilly with large and bright classrooms, fabulous labs and teaching spaces, together with the whole of central London and all of the opportunities that this brings. Not a week goes by without a class or year group being outside, visiting one of the galleries or museums or other places of interest. And we truly explore and use all that is on our doorstep as an extended classroom. And kind of why wouldn't we, being where we are? We have beautiful Green Park, which is 15 meters from the front door, where the children are every day for their break time. Hyde Park is 500 meters along the road, and our own playing fields are a 30-minute bus ride away, where the pupils have games twice a week at least within our own field setting. We also have our own fitness studios on site, but also go to local pools and gyms for sports, and have all of the usual activities you would expect to find within a sports hall arena. So we're really fortunate to have the whole array of facilities, really, both within and next to the school for the pupils' use, which one may not appreciate perhaps at first glance when you just look at our address on a prospectus. And now I'd like to move on to a few key elements about Eaton Square to give you a sense of who and what we are. And I'll start with the pastoral side. We genuinely have a real family feel. We're a friendly and warm community in the heart of Mayfair. And this is engendered by our relatively small class sizes of up to 18, 3 classes in a year. We have a fantastic form tutor system where each pupil has a form tutor who they see twice daily in groups of no more than 9. And that tutor has 3 main roles, which are to guide and support, obviously, to champion individual effort and success, and to instill a confidence and self-belief within each pupil. And the tutor would also be the parent's point of contact. And this enables the school and parent to collaborate and to support each child navigate their own individual requirements and route through those often testing, perhaps, teenage years and all they're encountering as they grow up through those. And also the house system within the school really supports the pastoral side brilliantly, and pupils can mix vertically through their houses, and they benefit from pupil leaders and mentors, and they become involved in all their houses are doing through activities or sports or competitions or charitable work, and indeed that theme of service. Now, academic excellence is something that we are always striving to develop within our pupils. We're a non-selective school at entry point, but our academic program and attainment form the foundation of the pupil's life with us. And our GCSE grades last year were fantastic. over half the pupils were awarded 7 to 9s, which were the old A2A stars in old money. And there are many combined factors why we achieved this success. We developed that love of learning within each child. Our small classes allow individual attention and support to be given where necessary, and our SEN support is fantastic as well. So if you do have a child who may be dyslexic or dyspraxic, please don't think that that's a barrier to applying to us and coming to us. We have a really broad range of GCSE options for the pupils, because we recognize really that the pupils we have really differing likes and interests, and we try and bring those out and grow those through our GCSE program. And of course, we have an excellent teaching team. They're incredibly enthusiastic, they're passionate, they're proactive about embracing new ideas and initiatives, both inside and outside of the classroom. And by the time your sons or daughters arrive with us, all will have benefited from our one device per pupil program. So each pupil will have a Microsoft Surface Go 2 device, and that will enable blended learning approach going across the whole curriculum. So they would be very much involved in that side as well. Now, we offer a great all-round education. It's a priority for us that all strands of our education are really strong. That includes, of course, sport, music, drama, adventure and leadership training, the clubs and activities program. We provide the opportunity to discover new interests and passions within all of the pupils. In year 7, when the boys and girls arrive with us, they don't really know necessarily which way they're going to go and how they're going to grow and develop. So we really look forward to discovering those new interests and passions within the pupils. And we encourage them to experience as much as possible when they are with us. All of our pupils take part in clubs, extended lunchtime or after school for clubs until 5 o'clock. And the extracurricular activities have continued to thrive during lockdown. So actually, that's not been too much of a barrier, but we were so happy to be coming back on the 8th when we can really grow that again. And the 6th form plans, so official details haven't yet been released, but I can say to you this morning that we are opening our 6th form on September 22, making the senior school a through school from 11 to 18. So the first A-level results will be through in summer 24, and current year 10 pupils obviously be the kind of the lead, the vanguard with that process. The 6th form will be on a separate site, but very near to where we are. So we'll maintain close links with the main senior school building, and indeed it'll be very near to the prep school as well. So it'll be a really nice kind of central part of our school kind of setup. Now, the admissions process is really a 3-part process. We are a non-selective school, as I said, but we do have CAT scores and CAT tests, which we look at as a baseline, really. So we know where everybody is when we start in year 7. And they can be sat with us, or indeed this year they've been sat remotely. So we may look at that again as we go through into next year. That's also followed by an interview with a member of the SLT, and then we also look very closely at the report from the current prep school or primary school. So that's a very important piece of the puzzle, the final piece, which we look at closely. And if your sons or daughters are applying for scholarships in art or drama or music or academic or sporting fields, that's another process on top of that, and we can give you more information about that if you contact our admissions department. But I would advise you visit the school as soon as you're possible. Hopefully that'll be able to happen in the summer term. Get the registration forms in. The deadline for September 22 is November 21, but we do still have some places left for this September. So if you're on this kind of call now, looking at that, then please do get in touch. All right, well, that's me done. I can say, I think rather like our previous head, I have 4 children. 2 of them went through Eaton Square and had a great journey. They really did. And they talk about it with great fondness still when we're having our chats over supper. So it clearly made a positive impression. And I'll hand back to Will.
Sebastian, thank you so much. Forgive me, audience, if you can now hear the local council gardeners strimming. They decided to do it today. So if there's that funny whirring noise, it's not your computer about to give up the ghost. It's Tower Hamlets gardening team. Right, now over to Westminster and the lovely Southbank International, where we're joined by Executive Principal Siobhan McGrath. Siobhan, welcome.
Hi, William. Thanks. I'm actually executive principal. I'm not deputy, don't worry. So I lead up all of our Southbank schools. We have 2 primary schools, one in Hampstead and one in Notting Hill. And we have our Westminster Secondary School campus in central London. And our Westminster campus is comprised of 3 buildings, one in Portland Place and a brand new one on the corner of Cleveland Street, which is Fitzrovia, and our 3rd one is Conway Street. And basically the new building's been a fantastic addition. It used to be owned by the BBC and filled with recording studios. Anyway, so to let you know a little bit about our school, we are an international school and we have the IB, so the International Baccalaureate. If you don't know much about the IB, the very significant difference between the IB and the UK curriculum is that it has breadth of curriculum right up through to when children are 18. So we basically keep the curriculum very, very broad. And as part of it, there's compulsory second language learning. So that is really a very important part of what we do. We advocate and support second language learning, in fact, multilingualism. We have students from over 70 countries, so we're absolutely a hive of diversity. Our staff are also from all over the world, and we celebrate and love diversity. It's a huge part of what we do. The IB fosters and expects global perspectives and a global view, and actually is very, very deeply embedded into our curriculum. I would say, having worked in other types of UK schools since I arrived in London, one of the biggest differences is that our curriculum is not exam driven. So we don't have to do GCSEs. We don't actually have exams for entrance into our school. It's a different admissions process, and it is therefore quite liberated as a curriculum. And one thing that we want to do and encourage and are able to do is to support students in following their own interests so that they can learn things that they want to learn. So we think that reflects more realistically on the world outside of school, and our ultimate aim is to produce successful young people who have skills for life that they can walk into any workplace or go on to university and do really well because they are independent, critical thinkers who are able to self-regulate and be very self-motivated. I'm not going to lie, I think the academic curriculum by the time the students are in the last 3 years of school is rigorous, it's tough, it's hard, challenging, but also really, really rewarding. And I'm actually going to share my screen for a minute and show you some places that our students have gone on to. Wait a minute, here we go. Hold on, let's move that over. Here we go. Oh, this hasn't worked, hold on. Here we go, sorry about that. Right, so if we look here, I'm going to jump through to the exciting bit, which is our academic results. So the IB is scored out of 45, and it creates an average point score. And what you will see here is that over the years, our scores have been incredibly high. So the global average score is 29.9, and we regularly have hit above 35. And what does this really mean? Like Brendan and my colleague in Cognita and Cognita School and Sebastian, we are selective a little bit, but we actually do take students of multi-abilities. And the fact that they go on to have virtually 100% pass rate is a real testament to the quality of teaching at our school. Where do our kids go on to? Well, they go on to lots of universities in the UK, but also several around the world as well. So we've got a student last year who went on to Yale, And why our curriculum suits particularly American universities is the breadth of curriculum is very, very well suited to a multidisciplinary approach that a lot of the American universities take on. I'm just going to go back a slide and show you what it looks like. So once you're at to diploma level, which is the last 2 years of school, you have to choose a subject from each of these 6 groups. So it accommodates students who have particular strengths in a certain area because they do a higher level version of a particular subject. So if you're a maths genius, you'll do higher level maths. If you're not so good at maths, you can do standard level. And they pick and choose between these groups. And that's, I think, the biggest distinguishing feature between the IB and the UK standard curriculum is that the breadth is there, but it still fosters and supports students who have different interests. I'm going to stop sharing there because it's always nicer sometimes listening to people than looking at a slideshow. So what else makes Southbank special? Like the other 2 speakers, we're very, very central London, and we love the fact that we are. So we take full use of London as a classroom as well. We absolutely really believe and celebrate the fact that we act as a family. Because we do have families from all over the world and from mixed backgrounds, it's really important that we have a strength as a community and build together to make our students feel at home and supported and cared for. And one nice thing that happens is they often get to know students from lots of different grades. So they feel safe, they feel secure, they celebrate and love diversity, and they're taken on an amazing educational journey that really goes right through from year 7, what we call grade 6, right through to when they leave school. And then we offer this stepping stone to the rest of their lives, where we really hope that they turn into amazing young people who have something to give back to the world. Our admission system is really straightforward. We require 2 years worth of school reports, essay from students, and then teacher references. And that's basically it. Because we take students who maybe are not even based in London when they arrive, we find that that admissions program works well. It's rolling admissions, so we don't have cut-off dates at all. You can apply at any time, and we will look at the application and hope to make a decision within 5 days of receiving all of the information that we ask for. So it's a holistic admissions process, really looking at where the student is at. And we take, as I said, students from all types of places, all different curriculum models. They don't have to have come through the IB. We quickly help them adapt to all of the next steps. We have a limited but possible ability to tour you in person, should you wish to do so, even at the moment. So we have a great admissions team, and I encourage you to look at the website, look at our virtual tours, have a look around, and if you want to know anything else about Southbank or anything about the curriculum or what our school offers, then please do get in touch, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Siobhan. Wonderful to hear more about Southbank International. And yes, as Siobhan was just saying at the end there about her information, please do get in touch with all the schools directly, but also know that both the recording of this webinar in full and all of the schools' brochures and promotional material and links through to their sites are available on our website, schoolsshow.com, and this recording will be available later today. So without further ado, we are moving north to the wonderful Fine Arts College, Hampstead, and we're joined by Principal Candida Cave. Candida, over to you in what looks to be a beautiful gallery. How fitting.
Oh, thank you. Well, welcome to Fine Arts College. I'm here in the main art studio, surrounded by A-level artwork. And I thought it was very fitting that you should see what we're like before I go through the sort of students who come here, the age range, and how we go through the admissions process. So we take students from year 9 up to year 13, really year 14 actually, because we have a portfolio course. But we have very few students in the lower school. We have about 50. So they are a small group in year 9, 12 of them, and then that goes up to 24 in year 10 and year 11. The rest of the students are A-level students at the moment, or portfolio students. But you are the first to know that from September 2022, that's a year in September, we're introducing 3 new full-time courses that really play to our strength. So there's one which is a foundation course in film, and that is a 2-year course. It teaches, or we will be providing, all the forms of education necessary to go straight into filmmaking or into film school. Another is the performing arts, and with that one, students will come to us for 2 years with the intention of going on to a very good drama school or straight into theatre. And then we have, which we actually have been running for some time, our pre-foundation art course, which is where students do 3 different forms of art, whether it's photography, fashion and textiles, graphics, or fine art, together with history of art, and that's to prepare for art school. Now, all 3 of these have the equivalent of 3 A-level certificates at the end, 2 get the extended BTEC, and 1 is 3 A-levels. So really, all our students who come to us have some idea that they are going to go into something creative at the end. Now, we offer 26 different A-levels, all sorts of academic subjects, and we encourage students to do a lovely breadth of subjects, so that a student can do philosophy and Latin, photography and fashion and textiles, leaving open for all different futures. We are in North London, and we're in a really beautiful part of North London. We have Primrose Hill just down the road. We have Hampstead Heath just up the road, Regent's Park just slightly west of us. So students use the green spaces, but even more so, they use all the facilities of the galleries, the theatres, the talks that are at the universities that we take our students to. Students leave us, we hope, and almost always completely able to deal with and to really flourish at university, in careers. We've been going a long time. I mean, I'm one of the founder principals, and we started in a very small way in 1978. We were 2 artists who wanted to teach our subjects, art and art history. And then by 1982, we brought in all the other subjects. So now we have children and nephews, nieces of students we taught 40, 45 years ago. So basically, I think that what we try and do is to give students a real confidence in the subjects they want to follow. How do people come to fine arts? Well, we don't really advertise. It's nearly all word of mouth. Last year was the first year we did one of these fairs. And actually, we were really excited to do this again, albeit online, because we have 3 students with us who came to the fair last year. So it obviously is something that people want to know about. But as I say, it's nearly always by word of mouth. Students either send an email through the website or phone us. And Mina, who's our wonderful director of admissions, she will give them a talk about what we offer initially, and then she'll arrange an interview with either myself or with Emmy, the head of the college, and this is an hour-long interview. This is how we gauge whether the student should be with us. Yes, we take up references from previous schools, but really within a quarter of an hour, we know if the student is right for us and if we are right for the student. With COVID, it's been quite difficult. We've been doing an awful lot of interviews online, but from the 8th, when we come back, I know Mina has been booking in tour after tour after tour for families who have had their interviews to come and have a look around the college. I'd like to show you College in Action. So I have a little film, it's a very short film, which we can show you now.
My first impressions of the college were that it was really sort of welcoming and warm and kind.
Very open and energetic.
They want you to be the best you can be.
Here it's like a very sort of small, strong community. If I were to summarise fine arts in 3 words, it would probably be
Liberal,
cultivating,
welcoming,
stimulating,
a great sense of freedom.
a darn good place.
Thank you very much.
Candida, thank you very much, and thank you for finishing on a very colourful and jolly video, and seeing some students talk out loud. Good Lord, who thought it would ever happen again? Soon, 8th of March, parents. Very exciting. So we're going to go into a Q&A now. Once again, please use the Q&A box. You'll find a button for it at the bottom of your screen, hopefully on Zoom, and just type in there. We'll either try and get back to you live here, or we will reply to you directly. But whatever happens, we will definitely get back to everyone somehow. We've got some to be starting with, and I will just throw them out to the schools a bit randomly. There's a very probably one here to start with on the Q&A online. So this is something I talk about a lot, actually, with our families and clients. What's the impact on commuting on children and their education? Living in West London, this is obviously particular to this parent, but we'll just give a snapshot of it. Living in West London gives us access to a lot of London schools, but should we aim to be closer to our school of choice so that we are part of that local school's community and reduce the time taken to get to from school? Great question all of the time, but perhaps even more particularly interesting in the era of the post-COVID. Seeing as he's near West London, Sebastian, I wonder if you might be interested in answering this first one. You've popped up perfectly there. Don't forget to unmute yourself, Sebastian. So yeah, over to you. What's the impact on children and commuting, and should parents look to be living near a school that they choose before arriving to be sure they're included in the community, etc.?
Thank you. Yeah, it is an interesting question, and it's difficult to know whether it's prompted by the COVID lockdown or whether it's just a general question about commuting. I think we probably all would say that it helps to be nearer to the school one's children are attending, but I think that's truer when the children are much younger. When they get to senior school, I think a journey is not a bad thing, and in some ways it can be part of their education as well. So I wouldn't necessarily pick a school just based on location. For me, that would be probably the last part of the puzzle. You've heard from fantastic schools this morning and great leaders of their schools, and they're all talking about everything they have to offer. And I think that those considerations should be uppermost in your mind, really. The commute, of course, plays a factor, but not everything. So, with my children, they have not always gone to local schools at all. 4 children, 4 different schools spreading across London at different times. So it's perfectly workable and feasible that your son or daughter can commute to school very easily. I guess I would say if it's a commute of more than, I don't know, 45 minutes, then you need to think about it a bit, really, and tie that in with the end of the day and the beginning of the day. If it still works and they can have a really active life at school and the commute's not going to affect them in terms of getting their assignments and homework done at the end of the day, then it's going to work for you. If, however, the commute will impact and it pushes all of that back much later at night, perhaps you should think about it and look at it in that way. But all the pupils who come to us, they do so from really wide catchment area because of the commuter links, really, and it works well, and it's lovely to see them going off at the end of the day in their 2s or 3s or 4s, going across the parks or going to the tube or jumping on a red bus or whatever it is. It's kind of part of living in London, I think, and part of growing up. I commuted to school from 4 years old on a red bus. I remember when the price was 2p, and I was doing that with my brother, who was 6, on our own. How times have changed, but it's a different world we live in. But I don't think I don't think commuting should be the mainstay of your kind of application process. Hope that helped, Will.
Great, thanks, Sebastian. Yeah, well, quite. The idea of getting on a bus is pretty exotic these days, let alone it costing 2p, or that you were only 6, or your brother was only 6. I mean, those are all alien concepts to everybody on planet Earth at the moment. So there's a couple of questions related to the differences between a state and an independent education. I'm just going to say to the viewers, these are really big topics, and did merit their own webinars almost. But I will just start maybe with Brendan with this one, who I'm not Brendan. Yeah, there he is. Brilliant. This viewer's asked, can you provide a fair, balanced view on the different outcomes? She's said academic and non-academic areas required to succeed post for basically. What are the big differences, do you think, say 2 or 3 big differences between a private education and a state education when it comes to the other end, when it comes to sort of, leaving year 13?
Yeah, it's another very good question. And I think there was a relatively amusing story. Myself, I went to an independent school one term into state secondary school, and my older brother and sister both went through the state sector all the way through, and my younger brother and I went through the independent sector. So I've got a good first-hand sort of feel for that. My brother asked for a rebate on his education from my parents. That's number one. But from an outcomes point of view, my older brother, he wrote for the magazine at his university, and he said that the biggest difference between public school children and the state school children was that the public school children had their names sewn into their socks, and that was his one interesting sort of reflection, having come from a state sector in a university where there's lots of independent, publicly school educated children. And I think on one level he was right, that there is we're all human beings, and we're impacted upon by our schooling, and the journeys our children take are varied, either from a primary school coming into an independent school or from other prep schools into independent schools, and everybody is very much equal when they arrive. One thing I do believe we need to do as independent schools is to give your children just a wonderful education that is value for money, because the state sectors are doing a brilliant job with the academic side of things. So we need to do a brilliant job with the academics, and we need to do a job with the character education, and we need to do a brilliant piece of work with parents, sort of making them feel involved in their education of their children. Because I do think that's one area that there is a big difference, is your accessibility to head teachers, to form tutors, to people as you're going through the school. You will get very much an individual education where it's just impossible for the state schools to match that. They do brilliantly as groups, as educational leaders from an academic point of view. I see very much my job is making sure that the experience that the children are getting gives them a real confidence. We do also talk about the agency, that they need to feel that they can make a difference in society, and they've got a bit of a responsibility at the end of the day to really do something with their education that their parents have worked incredibly hard to provide for them. So we talk about all those things openly, and they should walk out of the door with great confidence to make a difference in whatever the next stage is. And there's a question there about universities and how they perceive state school and independent school children. It may be that the grades that independent children need are slightly raised compared to some of their state school children, but fine, we'll get them slightly raised grades and they will be on an even keel. They've had an advantage possibly in some areas, but we have all destinations, Oxford and Cambridge included, vocational courses if that suits them. We will prepare people whatever, but I hope I've answered the question there, but I'm not entirely sure that I have. So if anybody wants to contact me separately, then please do so.
No, exactly on the money for the time that we've got, Brendan. As I said, it's a vast topic. As another sort of subsection of the same topic, I think if Candida, I'll ask you from an artistic point of view. Someone's asked, what the differences and outcomes at university for independent and state educated, but obviously with university level, with you going into, particularly those students with you going into arts specialized courses such as foundations, that really is big difference between private and state. So perhaps you could just give that little example.
Yes, well, I think probably the hugest difference between state and independent with the arts is the size. I mean, the thing is that we have, even though every year, I suppose over 100, more than that, people take some sort of art A-level. They're in small groups, they have individual attention. I remember the year before last, the last time we had a moderator come, the moderator who looked at the artwork said, when I come here, I look at the GCSE work and I think I'm moderating A-level work. When I look at the A-level work, it's like seeing degree work. And I think that because the students have a lot of attention, individual attention, and are help to develop their own style. They're not indoctrinated or taught a school style. They're able to make huge headway. Now, that's not just in art, to be honest with you, because if I was asked what is the greatest advantage of a small independent college, it would be the individual attention. And, like Brendan was saying, we have students who go off to Oxbridge, we have students who go off to West London Film School, we have all different sorts of students who come here. But what I think you get from a good independent education is the confidence to actually be yourself.
Candida, thank you very much. That's a wonderful outline of some of the differences that you can find, particularly in such a specialised area, and great to hear all the stuff that that you can offer as a comparison. One last question before we say goodbye, and this is probably the most asked question at any webinar to do with schools. I hope Siobhan won't mind if I ask her, and it's a pretty easy one maybe. And this parent has asked, when is the best time to start looking for a senior school, which I obviously need to go back to.
The only answer that's correct is before you get pregnant, right? So I know some people think that that's actually what it's about. That's a very old-fashioned retro way of looking at it. Look at the child first and see what you've got. And I love the fact that my co-colleagues have said what happened with their own children, and it's incredibly important that you match your child up to the school. I can't say enough that going into school and getting a feel for the place is absolutely critical. That how you feel when you walk into a school really matters, and almost over everything else. So even if you're doing a bit of an odd tour because of lockdown and distancing, you will get a feel for it. As someone who used to teach 11 plus for 12 years, I did that. I get that whole system. My advice is to start having honest conversations with the teachers in your child's school from about beginning of year 5, because they will start telling you and try and get the honest answer about what they might be able to achieve as part of that really quite vicious exam system. My school doesn't have vicious exams, so there you go. But I would say year 5, and actually have a look at a few. Don't make quick snap judgments. Try and match up how your kid is as a human being with what that school can do to bring out the best in your child, because they will not all be the same. And you really want them to feel good when they turn up at school, to feel safe, to feel secure, to love learning. That's so important. And to the best schools, no matter what schools they are, no matter how important their names are, no matter where they send their kids on to university, whatever, the best schools will love and nurture and develop your child, and the teachers and the heads who speak to you about it will be authentic to that point. And you will know, trust me, you will know whether they really mean it, and go and have chats.
Brilliant. Siobhan, thank you very much. That's exactly the sort of sentiments that we like to promote at the Independent School Show. And of course, in my world in Burnett Farnham, when I'm helping parents choose schools and when to start. I mean, Siobhan joked slightly about the before you're pregnant thing, but if we're talking nursery schools, that's actually true. But no, for senior schools, there are really clear deadlines. And you'll find all of that around there. I would argue, start early and don't do a sort of kitchen sink approach. Start getting your eye in, particularly those of you who are coming up to this now because you've been restricted from visiting schools in person. This is why we're all here today, in part. So, but Siobhan's quite right. When it's allowed, you've got to go and have a look. You've got to look them in the eye, ask questions, and see what's going on. Fingers crossed they'll have children in them soon, and you can see them, and it'll be the best of both worlds. You can join us back here next Tuesday, the 2nd of March at 10:30, when we'll be looking at choosing a school for your SEN child with Cabinet Education and the Good Schools Guide's SEN expert. So please do register online for that. This recording will be available on our website, schoolsshow.com, later on today, and as will all the promotional material from all these schools and links to their sites. Any interest, any questions for them directly, all the info's there. Please get in touch with them. And to Candida, Brendan, Siobhan and Sebastian, thank you very much indeed. Very best of luck. If I don't speak to any of you with your schools reopening, I bet the excitement is sort of tantamount to Christmas after all this time. And I look forward to seeing your schools in person once again very soon. Do take care, and thank you very much for watching.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.